of course, building the enterprise architecture team, right? Because people say that I already have my development team, I have my project management team, I have someone called a designer, or we call it solution architect. So what that has got to do with enterprise architect? Do I need to reboot my team, or do I need to start again, or do I need to restructure? Or if you think, you believe it is, how do we hire? How do we train them, right? So I think the topic is around that. Just now I mentioned about the importance of having the right digital enterprise architecture team, especially today in the era of digital transformation. So this is something, I think the message is quite loud and clear, right? When we are doing the project today and 10 years ago, you might be involved in the same team, right? You know, got the project manager, you got the lead, you got the developer, you got the system engineer, etc. But what makes you different 10 years ago and today? The only thing is that in the 10 years ago, when you inform in the project, you really think like your scope is basically limited, right? Basically, you know that your scope is clear and your integration is defined. But today, in the era of digital transformation, when you embark into a project, you need to open up the opportunity that whereby the scope may be expanded, and you might need to interface or to connect to the system or to the entity that are not so-called being considered in the early stage. So basically, something that are quite innovative, and something that you need to anticipating to be digitally connected, because we are living in the connected world today. And of course, if you don't use some sort of architecture, you may have a so-called digital project or digitalization initiative. But let me tell you, if you put that into the wooden piece like this, there'll be many overlapping. It's no different than what we call it stovepipe or island of information, right? Or island of system. Then at the end of the day, we may end up into a digital island. And you know what? Digital island in the cloud is very hard to integrate. It's just a mission impossible, right? So how do we prevent so-called end up into a digital island? So we need to have some sort of architecture to organize all the initiative that we are doing today. Okay, so I mean the era of digitalization has ended in 2010. So now we are at 2021, right? 11 years in the journey of the digital transformation that we need to move towards digitalization. And typically today, if you go to any senior management meeting, these are the typical questions they've been asking, right? Basically, they've been asking about the impact of this initiative. Can we don't do this? And what is the impact of not doing that? And etc. So basically, they got a lot of so-called question that we need to answer, right? About transformation. Then, of course, talking about capability, talking about investment. Because now is that, should we invest in this some amount of money? What do we get? What's the difference? We already have our CRM system. So why do we need to invest in the new system? So these are something that we need to know and we need to be able to answer. And of course, all this, once you answer one question, it will lead to the next question. So basically is that if you don't have a sound architecture in place, perhaps you can only answer 1 or 2 or 3 questions. But the rest, boss, can you give me 2 weeks or 2 months? Let me find out. In today's context, I don't think your boss will accept, okay, Aaron, I give you 2 months. You come back to me before December. No. Your boss will tell you, today is about 2 o'clock, 2 or 5. Before 6, can you give me the answer? So how do you get that answer? Okay. Of course, we need to have some sort of systematic and architecture to be able to answer all these questions. And with that, I think this is where the importance of architecture role, right? Or architecture team. Because if we actually, it's like, you know, in the war, they call it command and control, right? So you know exactly in the term of strategic planning, how to do alignment with the management, with the procurement, with the technology lifecycle, with your portfolio, with the change management. You need to have some sort of so-called control, or you know, in the enterprise is basically someone to glue everything, right? From the processes, from the team, from the technology. So enterprise architecture actually exactly playing this role. Perhaps now is that a few departments are doing that, but it's very hard for them to get the entire holistic or horizontal information about the organization. So architect is actually expected to play this role. And of course, in the era of the transformation, right, basically is that we now have a digital strategy. So this is where digital enterprise architecture actually help to formulate and also help to validate the strategy that we have, so that our transformation can go smoothly. Okay, instead of we just run typically is that we just run from the strategy go straight to the transformation. So we need to have some sort of the architecture to give us the feedback about our strategy. whether the validity, whether the impact or the analysis itself is relevant to fill up the gap that we exist so that our transformation can be successful. So the model basically is that how can we have a so-called digitally connected enterprise? That's very, very important in the today world, is that because now like most of us are still working from home, right? Some of you are already in the office, but it's like the capacity, it cannot be fully all staff go into the office, right? Maybe 50% or 75%. So some of them we don't meet them. So how can we still united? How can we still be connected? That's why I think the enterprise architecture now is playing a critical role. How to seamlessly integrate and all the function, the processes, the procedures, the technology in the entire enterprise. I mean, be it internally as well as externally. So these are some of the key takeaway, some from the Gartner. So this is Gartner made so-called an article in the 2016 that that enterprise architecture providing a gateway for the successful digital transformation. This, I think, something quite the power. The message is quite powerful because the transformation itself today, if we don't use the right method of architecture, you just execute it as just another project, except that with the title digital, right? And of course, in the 2019, the bottom there, so Gartner made a prediction that EA EA team, right, the importance of the enterprise architecture team internally, we play as a so-called internal management consultancy to the senior management in terms of the strategy validation, the direction, the goal, the motivation. Yeah. And then in the 2020, Gartner made a prediction that EA enable organization to be intelligent, right? So intelligent organization means that the organization knows the surrounding, right? How do people tell you are intelligent? Oh, I know a lot of things, right? Not only know a lot of things, you also need to be able to interpret. So the same thing, the concept of the so-called enterprise architecture in the organization. If you already get the proper EA team that are fully trained and also established, it should be able to evolve organization towards more intelligent. Yeah. And of course, this year, 2021, so Gartner also made a prediction that EA design a composable organization. Composable means like now we can work anywhere, we can work anytime, in any anytime and anywhere, right? Basically, is that less constrained by the so-called the physical enterprise itself. So EA facilitate this type of the business-driven outcome. And of course, some of the analysts here that EA as a digital transformer, EA is of course leveraging on the EA to so-called to tame, right, to reduce the disruption in the digital disruption. And of course, the disruption is that we cannot avoid them; it will be coming, but we should be able to cushion the impact, right? That's, I think, the objective about why we need to have so-called architect in our organization. And of course, architects are in a strong demand, right? I mean, actually, they got plenty of jobs, right? And of course, we have many requests from the organization to hire architects, but some of the job, even the project manager or even a director of operation, they need to have a requirement, some sort, the knowledge of architecture, because with that knowledge, you can streamline and you can transform the organization better. Yeah, so not only you carry the title of architect, but the knowledge and the experience expected to have or to possess for any professional, be it in the business professional as well as the IT professional. Yeah, and of course the scarce skill set in the big demand, right? So actually, yeah, they got the demand of architects, I think, in the market more than the supply. Okay, because they are looking for someone who can help to translate the business, right? The business problem with the technology. It's not about it's not really technical, but something that they know how to apply technology in the strategic way to help or to achieve business goal. So in terms of our country, I think you heard about MyGovEA. So if you are dealing a lot with the government, I think MyGovEA is still progressing, still strong, right? Established in 2015, and I think now they are going to roll out across ministry and agency. You can go to the website, you just search MyGovEA. Okay, the information is there from the entire public sector. And of course, if you are in the financial services, in the banking or insurance, or you are in the stock broking, etc. So Bank Negara also have made a mandatory for all the financial services in that institution. I think about 120 plus over 20 plus of them in Malaysia, right, require to establish enterprise architecture. Okay, you can go Google this RMIT BNM, then you can get the document. Yeah. And of course, PICOM also has adopted the national ES certification, right? Using the so-called the world global best practices from the ISA and the Open Group. Yeah? So it has been recognized, and yeah, it's going strong there. So what do you mean by enterprise architect? Maybe at this point in time, you're asking, hang on, Aaron, you're talking about a lot about enterprise architect. Can you tell me the definition? Eh? So let me just borrow the definition from the building architect and the medicine, right? So there are two components here. There's an art and there's also a science, right? So if you want to be best in your career as a so-called building architect or as the best doctor, right, in the medicine, you need to be able to combine the art and science, right? Of course, in the context of the building architect is how to erect the building, to design the building, and of course you need to compute all the so-called the pillar, the structure, the foundation, etc. Same thing with the medicine, right? The doctor need to be able to feel about your illness, right? And how the doctor can prescribe the right medicine. So the same thing with the architects, right? The art and science of designing and delivering valuable technology strategy for the business. So basically, we need to focus a lot on the business. Of course, now the context of the transformation are playing an important role. How we can apply the right, technology and also the artistic part in terms of that, understanding the driver, understanding the goal, understanding the strategy, understanding the motivation, and also the political situation. Yeah? And we apply that correctly, then so that we can advance our business into the next level, right? Into the next maturity level. So enterprise architect typically dealing with a lot of the business team, right? So basically you need to be able, when you put the arrow like this, when we put you into the so-called the role that you are responsible to deal with the business team, we need to be able to speak the business lingo. That's mandatory, right? So if we speak SML and TCP/IP, the business team don't understand what we are talking about. The same thing when we go into the technical team, then we can become a mentor or coach for them, right? How to guide the implementation according to our architecture. And to management team also, we understand all their KPI, their concerns, their driver, and how we ensure them that, you know, what we do is addressing all their so-called urging needs, right? Their pressing needs in terms of the so-called operation of the business. And of course, vendor supplier, we also need to manage them so that they don't push too much on the bias on the technology. We need to know what's the right technology for our environment. And stakeholders is also need to be managed, right? We need to be able to engage with them, right? We need to understand their driver, what make them cannot sleep at night, lah, put it that way. We need to be able to address that. And of course, industry body, government, association, also we need to look after, right? Because they also set the regulatory and also the best practices is coming from there. So of course now, who can become an enterprise architect yesterday, right? At least typically you need to have experience of 10 years. So basically it's all in the mid-30s, right? Early 30s, mid-30s onwards. You want to become an architect. I mean, I'm talking about yesterday. Then of course, you also need to be lucky enough to perform various roles. So you know all the job in the organization, right? From business analyst, PMO, marketing, sales, finance, project management. Yeah. And this is also the third criteria. You fail in the couple of last IT project and burn millions of dollars, and you are not put in jail, right? So this is mandatory if you want to be a successful architect. Yeah. So the architects basically, I mean, in the past is people learn it through trial and error. The more mistake you do, the wiser you are. But now I don't think you can afford to do that, because now they got the proper training, they got the proper body of knowledge for us to jumpstart into this career, right? So that you don't burn millions of dollars of the investment that our organization has put in. So this is basically about today. So they got all the training courses, they got the program, you know, that's why we're working now with MDEC, right? So that you don't do a mistake what other people did, right? We just go straight into implementing so-called the transformation, the digital transformation with enterprise architecture correctly for the first time. That's, I think, the aim of the program. And of course, they got multiple engagement on the so-called architect itself, right? So I think I want you to focus at the outer layers, right? The outer layers mean the in the perimeter, the outside. So the first one, they call it thought leadership. Thought leadership, I think, very, very important. So if we have the information, then we can suggest something. We understand the gap, then we can suggest something. So people regard us as the top leadership, right? Then on the right hand side, the corner there is customer journey transformation. This is also very, very important, because today in the era of digital transformation, our customer, our partner, our client expected us to have a seamless experience. So they don't want to say, hey, you go here, you connect that department. No, we want to have a single view, single window, right, of the all customer interaction. Then, of course, the bottom right there, on the right-hand side, skill set transformation about our employee, the productivity, right? We need to be able to assess information. Like now, I think we get used to it after, I think, coming to 2 years in the COVID pandemic, right? We get used with our skill set transformation. And of course, the bottom part is in the information transformation, whereby we need to consolidate and how to so-called orchestrate the information, right, to become a strategy for the business, as well as operating model and the digital business transformation. That's very, very key for the business survival. And this is the example on the way architect can put in across a different line of business or different division in the organization, right? So from the finance, sales, line of business, and also the IT, how you can basically work together, right, among various architects to collaborate together to define so-called the gap, to define the so-called the concern of the stakeholders, and develop a solution from it. Yeah, so architect not working alone, they got multiple roles, right? So now the next, you can see that the next couple of slides, I'm going to zoom in into each of the role, right? What the enterprise architect do, what the business architect, information architect, solution architect, software architect, infrastructure, as well as security architect. Okay, so typically architect as an influencer to balance solution delivery. So basically, we need to understand what are our enterprise point of view, right? And after we look at the technology and how the delivery team, right, the project management team, and also the stakeholders' expectation. So this is a very, very so-called a noble job, right? Because you need to find the balance between them, right? You cannot be biased. Okay, let me just bias towards a technology alone, right? It is typically that if you don't know architecture, everything in my mind is only technology, only that particular platform. But we need to look the holistic way. Which one is we can balance up, right? So basically between the enterprise goal, the technology, the project delivery, and the stakeholders, we need to find so-called something that meeting in the middle, right? To make everybody happy, put it that way. But we cannot make everybody super happy. But at least we make everybody happy, right? There isn't anybody that are not happy. That's, I think, the goal, the balancing act. So the model is something like this. So typically, if you have the project team, right, and then you have so-called your IT services team. So what happened is that the enterprise architecture actually coming in the project management office minus one. They call it EAO, right? So PMO -1, whereby we can basically identify, right, what are the gap in the organization, what are the strategy, and how we can formulate it into a project, right? The project that has a real case, business case. That's where the so-called the realization actually in the PMO, in the current project delivery. And at the bottom there is where we need to have some sort of the single source of truth, right? You heard the word single source of truth. So in the enterprise is that it's very difficult to have single source of truth, because, you know, everyone busy in their own department, their own job. It's very difficult to have so-called the horizontal view of the organization. So that's why we need to have a repository for us to be able to see a single source of the information across enterprises. And the top one is where we need to have so-called an umbrella. They call it digital transformation office, right? So if your digital transformation office only have project management alone, it's very, very tough, because they are basically busy in the scheduling the business, scheduling the resources, on how to deliver system. But we need someone to have a so-called become a command and control, right? Which is what I call it enterprise architecture office, to drive the entire initiative of projects or transformation program. Okay, so let me just zoom in into the business architect, right? So there are role of the infrastructure, information, software, solution, and the business architect. So business architect actually is on, of course, the business technology strategy. And today we can call this person actually is a digital strategist, because this person understand what are so-called business aspiration, business driver, business goal, business strategy, and they know also the technology quite well. So they know exactly how to fit the technology to support and realize the business strategy. Yeah. So of course we can call this person also enterprise troubleshooter, because he or she understand the impact of technology that bring to the business. So if you have the business architect attending the meeting, right? Perhaps it's the stakeholder meeting, and stakeholders have some concern, and then he or she can quickly pinpoint where could be the solution come from, or where could be the problem come from, right? So because he has the visibility of the entire enterprise. Then the next one, of course, information architect. So information architect is someone who knows the data dictionary and taxonomy governance, right? And of course, we call it information strategies, because understand the whole information structure to support the business, and particularly in terms of the business decision-making process. Because sometimes that we cannot make decision, or we scared to make decision. You know why? Because we don't have the data, we don't have the information. So if people challenge me, say, I don't know, don't ask me. But if I have the information ready at hand, I can explain. And why I suggest this type of initiative, because I can see the data. These are the so-called the gaps that we have. These are something, the opportunity that we have. Yeah. The next one is software architect. So basically looking at of course, the system, the software development, and of course the application in terms of the components and connectivity. This is very, very important. And of course, we can call it this person application strategies, and design the application pattern to support the business. There's the clear message. Yeah, we need to support the business. And of course, we can call the person also application troubleshooter, and understand all the potential silo that need to be integrated, right? So that we can have a smooth or support the integrated business process flow. This is the job or the main role of the software architects. So whatever he or she does to make sure that connecting the entire application at the back end, and how to have a smooth journey from the process, customer interaction, and also across multiple channels of the business. The next one on the infrastructure, right? So in the infrastructure also playing a critical role, especially today, everybody moving to the cloud, right? So we need to ensure that all the data center, the security, and also can support the business continuity plan, because we cannot get interrupted while we are doing so-called moving everything into the cloud or the centralized data center. So you can call this person is the technology strategist, right? So design the technology landscape to support the business. So whatever he or she propose need to ensure that are supporting the business goal, business driver, and business strategy. Okay, so you can call this person is technology troubleshooter, right? So understand all the technology disruption that may impact business continuity. So basically the job is that, I mean, if compared to other role, right? If your system is running smoothly, people may have forgotten about this role. Say, I don't know about this role. But when the thing goes down, like the email down, you straight away remember this person, right? So a bit unfortunate, but we need this person to ensure that, you know, our thing are run smoothly. Yeah. And of course, the last one is solution architect. So solution architect actually also playing a critical role, right? Because this is where the architect you put into the project. So what they call it into the implementation governance, right? To ensure that all the system development, the software development comply, right? Or align with or conform with the architecture. Okay, otherwise you can come out a very beautiful architecture, but the execution actually is running from the reality. And the solution architect is, you can also call him or her as an IT strategist, right? And design the architecture solution for the system development and implementation to support the business. Because at the end, after you deploy the solution, it will be deployed back to the business. And of course, you can call this person as a system troubleshooter, right? Because this person understands the potential discrepancy between architecture and the system being implemented, right? Again, to support the business. So we need to be able to distinguish a different role of architect. I mean, that doesn't mean, just now I mentioned about 5 roles, right? That doesn't mean you need to have 5 people, but we need someone that you need to wear a different hat. Where are you? When you're talking about solution architect, then you can start talking about the technology, about the technical solution, etc. But when you are wearing the hat of business architect, you start talking the business lingo, right? You're talking about how the system can help to achieve a business goal, how to increase a business capability, and you need to be able to switch the so-called your knowledge depending on the what hat you're wearing. So these are actually the training courses that we do have, right? So basically at the bottom there, they got the supporting skill. So they got the DevOps. These are very, very important. Basically, the merging between the system development as well as the IT support, right? Of course, they got the ITIL is there. Is the very established so-called knowledge and also the body of knowledge for the so-called supporting the operation services of the system. And of course, enterprise governance with COVID, right, is the proven so-called governance framework to can be applied even within the IT as well as within the enterprise architecture. Then, of course, they got what they call it business IT architecture fundamental. Basically, it's about aligning business and technology together. Because what happened is that many, when the project don't turn out well, the business people will typically blame the IT people. They say what? The IT people don't understand what we do. But if we talk to the IT people, they say business people also they don't know what they want, right? They need this, but they don't what they want. They don't know, right? So it's very very a complicated relationship, I would say. So this training, like business architecture fundamental, actually is doing alignment between business and IT, so that they can work together, right? They can achieve the same common goal. So the next one is architecture core. So architecture core basically is about the journey to run the transformation, right? How to establish. I think actually it's like all my presentation today, but you put that into the scenario of an organization. How the organization are in the firefighting mode, the CFO trying to cut the IT budget, and you are trying to show the value. You are stuck in between, and you start small, right? You start delivering value. So they got 17 workshop that will guide you through how you can basically emerge as a winner, right? So you drive the entire organization transformation, right, with the right technology and also the right skill set based on the body of knowledge. Then the next one is basically about TOGA framework. So basically about how do we now set up the framework and methodology for the organization to guide us through a consistent transformation journey. Okay, that's called TOGA. Then after that, they got Archimate. So Archimate is how can we model so-called our enterprise. You've heard the concept of the digital twin, right? How do we model the elements? I have the strategy. How can I model the strategy? How can I show the strategy connect to my application? That's why you can use the Archimate. Then of course they got the TOGA business architecture, basically looking after on how you apply the TOGA framework in the relation of the business architecture itself. Then they have a BTS, business technology strategy. So basically it's about how can you define a digital strategy, because business strategy and technology strategy by default are separate, right? So now we need to combine them, right? How can we work together between business and technology so you have only one strategy? So in the past, you heard about BSP, business strategic plan, and ISP, IT strategic plan. Now we merge that into business technology strategy plan. Yeah. Or in short, we call it digital strategy. Then after that, of course, got the specialization of business architect, information architect, infrastructure, software, and solution. So all these specialization lead us into so-called the next level to be able to see the connectivity and integration, right, among the enterprise entities. That's very, very important when we drive the transformation, because we need to have a complete information. We cannot have half-baked information, right? It's very, very dangerous when we make a wrong decision. Yeah. So the top layer is where we churn out the business architect specialization, information architect, infrastructure, yeah, and software as well as solution architect. So there's also customer journey mapping, whereby we actually now is very, very popular in terms of the mapping touch point by looking from outside in. So what I mean is that we typically now what we do is that many people are inside out. Inside out means we are working in this company. We are trying to portray what is customer facing with us, right? So we call it inside out, but outside in is totally different. We need to think through about we are coming from the outside and dealing with this entity company that you are in, right? So you can be brutal about it, you can be complaining about it, and how you resolve that problem, right? They call it customer journey mapping. Yeah. So basically, this is a graph, right? That are actually, you might call it, but you can just Google this so-called information. They got many prediction that actually many digital transformation today already fail and will fail. Okay, so 80% actually will fail, and the 20% will succeed, right? So as the journey continue, now it's 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25. You know what happened? 25, still same, 80% fail, right? So many of them actually, the successful is very, very rare. Okay, and the successful actually you need to have enterprise architecture, because by doing enterprise architecture, you have the visibility about, you know, why the thing failed, right? It can be prevented right before you start the implementation. Yeah. So with that, I think let me just use my before I hand over to Hurin. So basically, it's what about we do at TD. So we we started in 2006, right? So we have the 4 business arm: consulting, coaching, learning, and event, right? So we are offering all the so-called industry best practice training and certification program for architects, right? From the ISA with all the specialization, right? The open group from TOGAP, Archimate, and the business architect, right? From the ISACA, all the enterprise governance, from the ITIL, as well as the DevOps. Yeah. Okay, with that, I think I will hand over back to Hurin and also later to Syafini. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Aaron, for the presentation just now. So I would like to remind to our attendees here today, if you guys have any questions at all, just type in into the Q&A box, and then at the end of after this, we'll address all the questions. So, okay, let's move on to our next presentation on introduction on My Digital Workforce Work in Tech, MYWiT by Syafini Ridowan, project manager from Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, MDEC. Syafini, over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Hurin, for introductions. All right, before I start, I will share my screen first. All right. Okay, as mentioned by Hurin earlier, today I'm going to share with all of you about this initiative by MDEC called My Digital Workforce Work in Tech, or in short, MYWiT. Okay, this initiative is actually launched in April this year, and so far we have received a quite good response from the company. And this is an initiative to incentivize employers to hire unemployed Malaysia by digital reskilling and upskilling. And through this initiative, we actually aims to meet the strong demand for digital business services job role and higher value digital tech role. Okay, and what we offer through this initiative is actually salary and training incentive for those companies that hiring digital tech talent. Okay, and under this initiative, we have 2 types of program. The first one called Digital Business Services, or in short DBS, and the second one called Digital Tech Apprenticeship, or in short DTA. Okay, let me just run through with all of you about this. The first program, which is DBS. Okay, this is actually for companies who are hiring fresh graduates or unemployed Malaysia for digital business services job roles. Okay, what is DBS job roles? DBS job roles is actually more to the service that delivered to business customer by business unit using digital tools and platform. It's actually pretty wide. It can be, you know, from finance, accounting, customer service, even tech also can be fall under this this category. Okay, and then you can refer the job roles for this DBS. Actually, you can refer to the industry skill framework that we have developed with the industry. Yeah, the link of the industry skill framework is actually available in MyWiT landing page, so you can check out from there. All right, and then for the incentive for DBS, what we offered is for training, it's up to 5,000 per pack, and for the salary is 40% of the monthly salary for 6 months. And the minimum salary that the company need to pay for those you hired under this category, under this program, is 2,000 per month. And then you can see over there, right, the maximum incentive, which is 20,600. Because the reason why it's 20,600 is because for the salary, we put a cap, which is 40% out of 6,500. It's okay if the company pay more than 6,500 for the salary, but for the incentive, it's only going to give to the company 40% out of 6,500. Yeah. So for training for DBS, you can either opt for in-house training with minimum of 40 hours, or you can choose from our directory, which is work and learn courses, or learning on demand courses with minimum for learning on demand, you have to meet the minimum of 20 hours. But for work and learn, it depends on what type of training that you choose. And this is all of this training is been listed in our directory. About the directory, I will explain later in my next slide. Yeah. Okay, now we move to DTA. DTA is actually for those companies that hiring Malaysian for the niche skill, which is covered only in these 3 areas, which is data, software development, and cybersecurity. And for the incentive, for DTAs, for the training is a bit higher than the one that the training incentive we give for the DPS. It's 8,000 per pack, and for salary is fixed at 1,200 per month for 6 months. And for the minimum salary, the company need to pay under this program is 3,000 per month from 4th month onward. For the first 3 months, we leave it open, but it have to be more than 1,200 per month. Okay, and then for the type of training, it have to be only from career upgrade courses that listed in our directory. All right, okay, this is just a snapshot to show you about the digital DBS industry skill framework. As you can see here, there's a lot of pillars over here. Like I said, it's pretty wide in terms of type of jobs that can be falls under DBS category. As you can see here, there's a content moderator, customer service, even technology is also part of it. So yeah. And then this is where I'm going to explain to all of you in details about digital skills training directory, because this is where we listed, MDEC listed all the courses that have been reviewed and endorsed by the industry practitioner. And in this directory, we actually categorize the training in 3 categories. The first one called work and learn courses, and the second one called career upgrade courses, and the third one called learning on demand. What's the difference between these 3 categories is for the work and learn courses, this is actually more like a short courses where actually as of today, we already have about 180 courses to date, and this is more relevant to the DBS program. If you apply for DBS, you can choose the training from work and learn. Yeah, and we move to the second category called career upgrade courses. This is more like an intensive training with long duration, normally with long duration, and this is only covered in these 3 areas, which is data, cybersecurity, and software development. Hence, this is more relevant to the second program that I mentioned earlier, which is DTA. Yeah, and the last one is the learning on demand courses. This is the training which is using an online platform. And so far, we have about 10 platforms to date, and this is more relevant to DBS. So as a summary here, if you apply for DBS, you either can choose in-house training or the training that listed under work and learn courses or learning on demand. Yeah. So if you choose the DTA, you can only apply for the career upgrade courses. Yeah. All right, this is the eligibility criteria for the employers, because this is the incentives given to the employers, and for the claim is on reimbursement basis. Yeah. Okay, and there's we put a cap in terms of the hiring. For DBS, the cap of hiring is 500, and for DTA is 50. Okay, and the company have to be incorporated in Malaysia under these 2 acts, which is Company Act 1965, or the Company Act 2016. And then the minimum paid up capital is 20,000. Which is a bit low, because we also for this initiative we actually try to cater to SMEs and also startup companies. Okay, and then not subject to liquidation, winding up or dormant, and of course not a public sector employer, federal and state statutory body and local authority. And the company have to offer the minimum of a 12-month employment period, yeah, to the employees that they hire. And the employment offer letter have to be issued after companies submit the online qualifying applications. Yeah? And the number 7 is more like a conflict of interest, where the company director, shareholder, partner, senior manager have to declare and disclose if there's any close business or family relationship with any MDEC directors or employees. And the last one, the company cannot be the current recipient of any government or MDEC grant, yeah, not incentive, that include hiring and training subsidies. Yeah. Okay, then this is the criteria for the employees, where the only difference between these 2 is for DBS, we allow fresh graduate, but for DTA, it's only for unemployed and retrenched employees. And how we define unemployed? The person must be jobless or unemployed for a minimum of 2 months. For retrenched employees, you can hire them anytime, as long as you can provide an evidence that the person have been retrenched, which is the retrenchment letter. Yeah, so Malaysian citizen must not be a close family members of the top director, shareholder, or top management of the hiring companies, and also not a current or past beneficiary of this MYWiT initiative in any companies. And then also the last one is not part of Penjana Kerjaya 2.0, Penjana KPT CAP program, because these two programs are actually offering the same incentive like what we offer through MyWiT. We try to avoid double dipping here. Okay, this is the specific conditions for this initiative, where the first one is company can only submit one application until approval stage. And then the second application can only be, company can only submit the second application after you receive the letter of offer from MDEC for your first application. And it's also still subject to the fund availability during the time that you applied. Yeah, and number two, the reimbursement of the incentive is only applicable for the participant that has completed the first 3 months of the program. It cannot be the first month or second month. It have to be 3 months onwards. Yeah, and that the employers are not allowed to replace participant under the incentive, which is we didn't allow backfill in this case. Yeah, so number four, you company required to notify MDEC with the documentary evidence within 30 days if the participant resign, or if company terminate a participant from the company. And the last one, the company need to provide to us the employee status report of the employees that you hired at the end of 6 and 12 months. This is have to be submitted together with the EPF statement and any additional evidence to prove the salary payment to the employees that you hire. This is if required only lah. Okay, and then this is the documentations that the documents that you guys need to submit. The company need to submit to us during the applications, because for this MyWiT initiative, we have 2 stages of application. The first one called qualifying stage, and the second one is an approval stage. Okay, for the qualifying stage, it's pretty straightforward. Just complete the signed online application form, completed and signed the online application form, and then you have to also to provide us the job posting link, that job vacancies that you post in any job platform. Yeah, it can be either in your own website or either in JobStreet, LinkedIn, anywhere, as long as you can provide us with the link. And the link have to be an active link for a minimum duration of 2 months. Reason why we need an active link, because once we receive the link from the company and the company has passed the qualifying stage, we're going to advertise your vacancies in MyWiT landing page. Because in MyWiT landing page, we do have a job seeker section where we listed all the jobs that have passed the qualifying stage. Yeah, and other than that, what you need to provide to us in the is the verified audited account and also a student management account. But this one is only for the companies who operate here in Malaysia for more than 1 year. But for those for the new companies, who you only need to submit to us the management account. Okay, now we move to the second stage, which is an approval stage. This is where company need to provide to us the employment offer letter for a minimum duration of 12 months, copy of new employee IC, copy of past 6-month EPF statement of the new employees that you hired, retrenchment letter if you hire the retrenched employees, and this is letter of commitment between companies and the training provider or the purchase order. Yeah, and then this is only for career upgrade and work and learn courses only. But if you opt for the in-house for learning on demand, what you need to provide to us is only the quotations, because you don't need to subscribe yet. You just need to snapshot the quotation and send it to us. Yeah, and then if you choose the in-house training, we provided the template in our application form. Just fill up the template and provide it back to us. And then, of course, the evidence of fund project completion if you have received any government funding before. Yeah. So this the next one is a secret report of the top 5 major shareholder and the board result. And the last one, the cover letter to confirm that all the documentation is correct and signed by the authorized signatory. And then this is my last slide already. This is just to let you know how to apply for this MyWiT initiative. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, there's two stages. It's qualifying stage and approval stage. Okay, qualifying stage, yes, fill up the online application form, submit to us the link of the job vacancies. And once you submit the application to us, we're going to do our due diligence at our end. And then once you tick all the box, you fulfill all the criteria, you will receive the acknowledgement email from MDEC. And then you can start, once you receive that, you can start finding a candidates and also select the training. Yeah, once you already found the candidates, you have already issued the letter of employment to the candidate that you would like to hire, and also you already have the letter of commitment or the purchase order with the training provider that you choose. Just submit all the documentation to us for an approval. Now, once we're going to do another round of checking, and then once we complete our checking, we're going to bring to the application to the evaluation committee. The evaluation committee will be then recommend for an approval or going to reject the applications. Yeah, and then during the evaluation meeting, we're going to invite company for the clarification session. You're going to be on standby. If there's a question from the committee members, only we're going to invite you for the clarification. Or if not, it's okay. You don't need to join the meeting at all. Okay, then once you pass the evaluation meeting, then if it's approved, you will receive the offer letter from MDEC. This is when your incentive is activated. And for the claim, like I mentioned earlier, the person that you hire have to be with the company for a minimum of 3 months. So then the claim you can only submit upon completion of 3 and 6 months. Yeah, this is for the reimbursement. I think that's about it from me. Thank you very much.
Just want to let you all know that the ISA training program from ETA is also supported by MYWiT MDEC for the newly hired digital talent. So before we continue to our Q&A session, so if any of you here today are interested to participate in ISA skill set competency assessment, you can scan the QR code on the screen that you see on your left. So I can go ahead and scan the QR code for the ISA skill set competency assessment, and our program manager will get in touch with you soon. And then if you would like a copy of the presentation slides, all you have to do is just to share with us your feedback and scan the QR code on your right side. And then we will send you a copy of our presentation slides in a separate email.
Sorry, Hurin, I
Yes.
just have one more thing to add about MYWiT. Okay, this is just an update for everybody, even for ATD as well. We are now actually in the midst of enhancing the process for MYWiT applications, because now, as you can see, the process is a bit, it's a bit lengthy, and we are now actually in the midst of simplifying the process. So there might be an update coming from MDEC in anytime soon. So just bear with us. As of now, the process is as what I explained earlier, but please expect that some change. There are going to be changes in terms of the process. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Syafini, for that update. So, okay. So let's go ahead to our Q&A session. Okay, let's see if we have any question. Okay, so I can see here one question from John Tan to MDEC. So far, how many employees have MYWiT supported and trained?
Okay, actually, to answer that question, actually, we are not the one that conduct the training. It's actually, we do have the training provider that we have actually evaluated and listed in our directory, and ATD is one of it. So as of now, I can say how I'm going to answer this question is actually how many companies that have applied and have been qualified for this MYWiT program. We do have about more than 200 companies already applied for this, with total numbers of about more than 7,000 job vacancies already. Yeah.
All right. So I hope that answers John Tan's question. So next question, I think this one is for Aaron. So from Joshua, top of the question will be, which architect is most respected, in highest demand, and command the highest salary? So maybe Aaron can answer that question?
Okay, well, just now I think I mentioned that they got a row of architects. So they got 5, right? So the first one is business architect. Then after that, information architect. Then information, or you call it data architect. Then after that, application or software architect. Then we have infrastructure or technology architect, as well as solution architect. So now you ask me, which one can command the highest price, right? Basically, it's higher pay than any other roles. Okay, let me tell you the expectation of the typical organization when they hire architects. So if you are architect, not a full-time business architect, you're applying as a software architect, you need to carry another role as a business architect. So basically is that if you are architect and not a full-time architect or the business architect, you have to perform the role of business architect, regardless if you are information architect as your primary role, you still need to perform the role of business architect, because otherwise your information doesn't make sense to the business. Because why? I'm only looking after the information and data architecture, so I don't know anything about business. You can't do that. So you need to be able to perform the role of business architect, right? The second one is the software or application architect. The same thing. When you design your application, you need to be able to perform the role of business architect, because otherwise your application or your software cannot support or align with the business. The same thing if you have infrastructure or technology architect, you still need to be able to perform the role of business architect. Okay, because without that, then your infrastructure, your data center setup, your cyber security, everything, nothing to do with the business. You only look after your territory, which is highly technical, and you cannot deliver value. As well as if you're solution architect. So your solution architect, you are architect inside the project. You need to be able also to understand the business. You need to be able to perform the role of business architect, right? So if you ask me, among all these 5 roles, right, the longest serving architect in the particular task assignment is the solution architect. Because solution architect is the project 9 months, likelihood you look after that 9 months of the project implementation. But if you're looking at the percentage of the architect involvement, the amount of work, right, in terms of that, which one is the so-called demand more work, like business architecture, information architecture, software architecture, infrastructure architecture, or solution architecture, let me tell you, 60% of your work or 70% typically you'll be doing the business architecture. Because the business architecture is the one that are very, very complex compared to the rest of architecture. I mean, software architecture, well, complexity is there, but you know, it's already very matured profession, right? You got so many software engineers, and you can resolve many things very fast. But business architecture is something that you need to expect, or you need to be aligned. You need to manage the different stakeholder motivation and concern and driver. So that's the complex part. And of course, every architect, just now I mentioned, if you are software architect, business architect, your software architect, infrastructure, information or solution, you need to be able to perform the role of business architect, right? So if you ask me, which one get highest pay? Well, it depends, right? If I tell you the business architect, then everybody will get the highest pay. Because why? I'm also the business architect, right? It's like myself, I'm more the software architect, but I can also carry myself as the business architect, so I can demand higher pay. Okay, so it really depends on the person, right? Because when you talk about architect, actually, just now I tell you 70% work more on the business architecture, but 80% is dealing with a human being. So meaning, if you can't deal with human being, you're only good at sending the WhatsApp, right? Sending the email, participate in the blog, etc. But if we put you in front of the stakeholders and suddenly your lips cramp, you cannot open the mouth, you can't do the job. Okay, so you need to be able to have a well-rounded skill, right? So in terms of the salary, I think it will be commensurate with your contribution, right? If you can perform what I described just now, right? So senior management every time go to board meeting, they are looking for Aaron. If I'm not around today, they tell you let's postpone until tomorrow. Then you can demand the higher pay. But if you around, right, senior management also don't call you, something not right about you, right? So basically, it really depends on the where you can perform and where you can contribute. All right, over to you, Hurin.
Okay, great. Thank you for the answer, Aaron. Okay, we have a few more questions. What are the difference between the role of solution architect, project manager, and software architect? This is for Aaron also.
Okay, well, just now I mentioned solution architect is someone assigned into the project, right? So basically, just now you mentioned the question about between software architect, project manager, and solution architect. Let me just comment out a software architect, because software architect is a job outside the project team. Because the project team, if you are software architect or business architect or information architect or infrastructure architect, you perform the role of solution architect. That's it, right? So it's the same thing like in the construction, right? So in the construction, when the architect walking into the construction site wearing the helmet and the boot, you are the architect surveyor. You are on the ground. We call it solution architect. So solution architect is basically performing multiple roles, right? So solution architect need to know about business architect, need to know about software architect, need to know about information architect, need to know about infrastructure architect, and also how to glue them together, and also with the appropriate, the right technology and platform to deliver business value, right? So basically is that, and then of course when in the project, solution architect and project manager, basically solution architect helping project manager to in terms of the addressing all the technical concerns, technical challenges, and of course all the so-called, in fact, also can be advisor to the project management in terms of the timeline, on the quality, as well as on the so-called, become the governance, basically to make sure that whatever the project that they are building is according to the architecture. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you so much, Ari. So, next questions we have from Norjainawati Mokhtar. She said, I am the one who prepared the ICT strategy plan. So, which architect am I? Am I a part of the architect?
Yes, basically, if you are involved in the strategy plan, then you are actually considered under the business architect, right? So the business architect actually is the one that validating the strategy, modeling the strategy, also capture the motivation, and also develop a new capability. Because when you're talking about strategy, you need to be supported by the capability. So the capability is where you are going to assign to multiple departments, and also capability need to be supported by the technology. So I think in the realm of the enterprise architecture is that all interconnected. So if you are focusing on the so-called development strategy, then you need to sharpen the role of the skill set on the business architect. Then from there, you will see that, oh, actually, I also need the information architect to support my strategy. I also need a software architect to support my strategy. I also need to have infrastructure architect to support my strategy. And of course, when I execute my strategy, I need solution architect on the ground, right? So, if you ask me, among all the multiple roles, right, how many person that even, we need to start small. Do we need to start with 5 people? The answer is no. Okay, you can start with two people. But the 2 person or 2 people performing the role of architect is multi-talented people, right? So you get the multiple skill and the multiple experience and multiple knowledge to execute the job, right? 2 person can execute the 5 roles that just now I'm talking about, if you are fully trained and skillful, right? Of course, if you are fresh graduate, then you need 5 or maybe 2 person per role, 10, right? Because you need to learn to do it right for the first time. So that's, I guess, my answer.
All right. So I think the last, the question we have, I think it's the same as last question. Can project manager be solution architect as well?
Yes, of course can. You need to be trained, but it's not that said I'm a project manager and then said after attending the seminar tomorrow, the project manager tell the boss, according to yesterday's seminar, Aaron said I can become solution architect. So can you change my title and also give me a pay rise because I can become solution architect? The answer, well, you have to earn, right? Whatever you say, I want to become solution architect, you need to earn that title. You cannot challenge the management to give it to you, right? If management think, wow, now you are totally different person. Your project manager beyond your duty. Right, you understand the whole aspect of the business. You also can address all the technical challenges, and you can address the information. You can address the application. You can address the infrastructure, and then your boss feel happy, and the boss said, "Okay, now you are promoted well to become the solution architect, right?" Then somebody else will become a project manager. I guess that would be the most logical way, rather than straight away after this. Now it's what time? 3 o'clock, 3:30. You write email. You capture my recording and say, "Boss, give me the title. I can do the job." You can't. just kidding.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Okay, so we have a question for Syafini. Can they have a copy of your presentation slides? I suppose, of course, we will.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. After this, I'll share the deck with ATD. But as I mentioned earlier, there might be changes in terms of the process. So what I'm going to do also, that once we have finalized the changes and everything, I'm going to share it with ATD for them to share with whoever that attend the session today. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So another question for Aaron: what is the learning path to solution architect if someone is already certified for CITA-F?
Okay, the thing just now in the graph is that if you already pass CITA-F, if you want to skip the framework, you want to skip the Archimate can, but you need to go through the business technology strategy, because business technology strategy provide the foundation for an architect to understand the relationship between business and technology. Then from there, of course, they have a specialization course, they call it solution architect, right? So at that course, actually, you will learn, actually it's the 4 days training. Interestingly, on the day 1, you learn about the business architecture. Day 2, you learn about information architecture. So day 3, you learn about software architecture. Day 4, you learn about infrastructure architecture, as well as how to glue them together with the technology. Okay, so basically, is to put pieces into a model. Okay, basically 4 in 1 plus the technology itself.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. I think there's a question for Syafini. Is there an email or phone number on MYWiT website in case they need to clarify our function? I think
yes. Yeah, actually, yes, we do have an email that which going to direct you to our customer service, which is Click, if you're aware. I mean, if you know about Click, or else you can also drop an email to me. I'll try my best to help to answer whatever questions that you have. Yeah.
Okay, great. So maybe Syafini can leave your email address in the chat box, so everyone can contact you. All right, so we have a few more questions to Mr. Aaron from Jonathan. How does business analysis skills fit into enterprise architecture, or not at all?
Okay, the word is a business analyst?
Yes, business analysis skill.
So business analysis actually is the, I would say, is the so-called associate architect level, right? Because if you are very good in the business analysis, you understand about business requirement, you understand about business modeling, you understand about business process, and you're also dealing with the stakeholders, with the business user, right? And you also understand about the so-called, I presume, you have a technology background behind you, right? You understand about the technology knowledge, technology, skill set, etc. So I would say that it is, you just need to be molded. Molded means you need to be trained, you need to be guided, right? What are the different now? Yesterday, I was a business analyst. Today, I'm a business architect, right? What does it take? What are the key differences? So you need to know that. And of course, the good news is that there is a training program, right, to teach you to guide you through the journey about, you know, from the business analyst, I want to become a business architect. What are the focus area that I want to be good at, right? Because what happened is that, you know, we used to teach, I used to be a trainer in the past, in my early days, right? So, you know, interestingly that after I conducted this type of training, and many of the students tell me that, wow, Aaron, I wish I attended this training 10 years ago. I said, well, I wish also I can have this, right? Always people say, I wish, but the reality is that today is the reality, right? It's good that you are not too late that you discover this. But he said that, you know, actually all the case study, the workshop, group discussion that conducted in the class, I almost went through that in my life because I got 15 years of experience. But the difference is that when I went through that in my life, it's just by chance somebody rescue me, right? Could be your boss rescue you, could be your colleague rescue you. Jadi the circumstances make you alive. Basically, in the movie, you are the main actor. You cannot shoot, that's why don't die one. And that's why you are today here. But that's it. If I got this knowledge, this competency, if I master this, I think I will end up a different role today. That is the real feedback that I got and I received from the student, right? And of course, we tell them that some of the students also said that, you know, after I open up this so-called the knowledge, suddenly now when I go back to my work, I can see problem as an opportunity. They told me that, Aaron, a few weeks, before I attended the course, I am the king of complaint. I am the complaint king, right? So complain to the boss, they don't know to complain to the boss, complain to the colleague, and then complain to the whatever they meet the person, right? You go to coffee shop complaining about the job, complaining about everything the company has, right? So basically everything is bad. But after I see this, I understand the architecture, right? I see that my complaint actually is opportunity for me to get it right. Because in the organization, nobody want to get it right? So it's me lah. So they took up that opportunity, and after that, of course, many of them actually get promoted very, very fast because now they can see the perception change. Instead of complaining, instead of talking bad about the boss, talking bad about the process the company has, you fix it yourself. Okay, if you don't fix it, somebody else will fix it, and whoever fix it, it will go up to the management ladder. That will be on my message.